Now, over the United States, we have kind of had what's called a calming period where weather hasn't been as active as we usually see it. That calming period is going to diminish pretty quickly, and multiple rounds of severe weather expected to start up through portions of the Central Plains over to the Ohio Valley, Mississippi Valley. The main threat, though, going to be that the Central Plains area where we're seeing a lot of that tornado threat, some of it even being nocturnal. So yes, everybody, welcome back to Skycast. My name is Christian. I'm your host. And like I just said, we have a lot of severe weather expected over the next few days. And that severe weather threat does start today. National Weather Service highlighting a slight risk of severe weather through portions of Texas. Marginal risk anywhere from Kansas down into the Panhandle. This tornado threat is not expected to be the main threat, only a 2%, so maybe a spin up or two. Not expected to be too wild, though. Main threat is going to be that wind and that hail concern. Hail, more of that threat where we do have that hatched risk for a possibility of 2-inch in diameter or larger, as well we can possibly see those wind gusts in excess or 50 knots greater. National Weather Service highlighting isolated large hail and severe gusts. Once again, tornado listed as a 2%, but not going to be that big of a concern. And here's the hypnosis if you would like to pause to read that. And the threat in general that we're seeing down here isn't a widespread event. It's literally for just one or two storms. Storms will start sparking up about 8 o'clock just to the west of Abilene, 8, 9 o'clock just north of Big Spring. And it's expected to be, like I just said, one or two little storms here. The radar here is kind of showing them to be somewhat discreet, which could also be a good thing for that tornado potential. Once again, though, that tornado potential is very diminished with this threat. By 1 o'clock, it's expected to die off for the most part. By 3 a.m., nothing is going to be here. This is Eastern Standard Time. So, once again, very small threat, very short-lived as well. Main concerns, though, as we get into tomorrow. Now we move into tomorrow, where we have a big threat here. Enhanced risk through portions of the Texas Panhandle up into Kansas. A slight risk stretching from anywhere from Colorado down to central Texas into Nebraska. Marginal risk stretching even further north. This is going to be a main tornado and hail-driven threat. You can see that 10% significant, with the possibility to see an EF2 to an EF5 tornado within 25 miles of a point listed. That wind threat, once again, not going to be as big of a concern, but you will have a possibility to see 50 knot or greater winds within 25 miles of a point. Hail threat, 30% significant. If this does get upgraded, it'll likely be either for tornado or hail, although I don't see that happening. Now, we could very well see this to be somewhat of a nocturnal threat or a nighttime threat, as National Weather Service highlighting severe thunderstorms expected from late Thursday afternoon into Thursday night across portions of the central and southern Great Plains. Very large hail, severe wind gusts, and a couple of strong tornadoes are all possible. The hypnosis for this one is extremely long, so I am going to highlight it as you go. Feel free to pause the video if you would like to read it. Now into tonight, where we are seeing that marginal risk of severe weather, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the morning. You will have some storms move through the Oklahoma region into the Missouri-Kansas region. This is not expected to be severe. If it does wind up going severe, it won't be too crazy of a threat. The main threat that we're seeing right here is going to be two separate areas. One area back here, that'll start about 7, 8, as we're seeing the National Weather Service highlighting that threat for afternoon hours. This will be west of Dodge City, Kansas. That'll eventually just move off to the north. 1 a.m., the storms that we're seeing on the south side of this will spawn up. 1, 2, 3, 4, where we're seeing that nocturnal threat. 5 o'clock, south of Oklahoma City, going to be a concern. And then we just continue to move into 6, 7, 8, where these storms through Texas continue on through. For the most part, it does look like a good amount of diminishing over here towards the north side of the storm, though. And this is where we move into day 3. This is going to be on Friday. I forgot what day it was, so I had to look. But we do have a slight risk spanning from multiple states, anywhere from Iowa, Nebraska, down into portions of Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas. Probabilistic of this being any sort of severe weather is a 15% hatched. So we do have a big probability of seeing this become severe. I would not be surprised if this does wind up get upgraded to a 30% or an enhanced risk of severe weather. An active severe weather day appears possible Friday from portions of Nebraska and Iowa southward into parts of the southern Great Plains and the Ozarks. Few tornadoes being highlighted, large to very large hail, and damaging winds will all be possible. Like the rest of the threats, this will probably be a enhanced risk for wind, not wind, but hail and tornadoes if this does happen. National Weather Service not ruling out the fact for damaging winds. Now, the time that day 3 actually starts is going to be 6 a.m. That's when the models kind of shift over. 6 in the morning, that's Eastern Standard Time. And this will just, all the storms that have been left over from the other threats is what's going to be causing that severe weather threat. Like the National Weather Service highlighting anywhere from Texas up into portions of Iowa is where we're going to be seeing those storms, those severe ones at that. And eventually that'll just move off to the east, will mostly diminish for the most part. We will have another backed area of storms in Nebraska where we see the National Weather Service highlighted Nebraska in general. Right here, this could possibly be another severe threat. If this does go severe set of storms, it will be 5-6 o'clock in the afternoon. And this is the last run that we have. This is as far as the models go out. Keep in mind, these aren't 100% exact. This is kind of just an overview of what will happen, so keep that with a grain of salt. And even after we get through all 3 days of severe weather, it will not be over. National Weather Service has high confidence, issuing a rare 30% enhanced risk of severe weather on day 4 through portions of Texas, Oklahoma, and portions of Kansas. 15% once again, somewhat widespread, shooting all the way up through portion of Wisconsin down into Texas. And once again, pretty rare to see a 30% get issued. 15% normally indicates somewhat of a higher scale event where they're able to predict it that far out. 30% highlights somewhat of an even more higher scale event. We could likely see this to be somewhat of a big event. You can pause to read the day 4 right here. That's that whole paragraph there. And even as we continue on, day 5, 15% risk of severe weather through portions of Texas, once again up into Wisconsin, Illinois. So all these areas that we're seeing under the gun for multiple rounds of severe weather. If you want to read day 5, you can do that here. Day 6 is also here, but there is not anything actually listed just yet for day 6. Now, we're seeing these storms, these severe storms, we also have a decent amount of shear with these. Shear is very good to fuel severe storms, so we do have a decent amount of that there. And as we continue through the runs, as we move into the more daytime threat for day 3, you can see that shear still listed being there, possibility for that to help fuel the severe weather. And as we're seeing that day 4 into day 5 outlook, you can see just how deep the shear is through portions of the Oklahoma area. Move through the run again, you can see that, which is likely why they have issued the 30% confidence. And as that continues to move off to the east, likely will die down some, but will still be pretty active for shear moving into portions of the eastern side of this. As we move a little bit further out, though, with this storm in particularly, there could be another threat up here for severe weather somewhere. As we move into even portions into May, could also see that where we do have that shear in effect. The shear is not the only thing that does fuel these storms, though. You have a lot of things like instability, moisture, all that stuff that has to play out. This is just strictly the wind shear model that could fuel those severe weather potentials. So besides that, that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure you guys are 100% taking this serious. This could be somewhat of a big tornado event, hail event, wind event, all that fun stuff. We will likely see some damaging tornadoes, and if we do, I will most likely be going live depending on what happens. So thank you for tuning in the Skycast. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great day.